Well, hey, it's Jeff Pulver with, Mr. VCon, Thomas Howe, and welcome to This Week in VCon. Yes, this is our very first episode one of This Week in VCon, and I guess the news is that we now have a new podcast called This Week in
This
VCon.
Week in vCon.
How are the VCons treating you this week? How are they behaving?
Oh, they're very behaving. But like vCons tend to do, they're moving as fast as AI does. And they're doing great. I'm out here in Denver with a couple of my team members doing some next generation work on the next generation of vCons. And so we're having a really fun time doing it. So yeah,
Well, wait a second. So while the world is first catching up to the first generation, you're working on the second generation.
Well, there is a pipeline, right? And so there's you think about the journey of vCons, and I've been thinking about this myself. Like we've been at this for a while now. It's not like a super new idea. We've been doing this for a couple years.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. And then there's always stuff to do, and we're doing the next stuff to do, which I think is really really exciting. Especially for me. So yeah, so vCons are doing great. How about for you, Jeff? Are vCons treating you well this week?
VCons have been very, very good to me. I just before this episode, I just got off a call with our first Latin American member of the VCon Foundation.
That's
happy to announce that Voisek, Voisek, out of Mexico and Miami, Fort Lauderdale, they're joining the VCon Foundation. They see the value in the VCon, and they want to help lead the charge from Latin Am. And I'm saying, yes, this is amazing.
Yes, good for them. Good for them. So that's something which is really starting to become a thing, right? The VCon Foundation. We should touch on that for sure.
Well, sure. So I don't want to miss any members here. I apologize to those who are ready. I don't want to miss this part.
Isn't that a wonderful problem to have? Can I just stop you right there?
It's beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful? This is great. How much fun is this?
We started at the very end of last year. Very happy to say that we were that J-Link and vConic were the first two charter member companies of the VCon Foundation, and then in the past 2 weeks, we've been joined by Grandstream Networks, by Vodacall, by Found, by Carrier X, Caller Review, Sansec, Dickinson Wright, and now Voisek, and growing. And there's still about a dozen companies I'm talking to, or I have to get back to, who have expressed interest in joining the VCon Foundation. So yeah, it's a thing and it's growing. And right now we're all about education. I mean, people wondering, for a $5,000 corporate membership, what do they get? And it's like, well, right now you get to help us promote the fact that VCons are out there. And over time, we're going to help you run operability, as Blake Irving taught me a long time ago, operability first, then interoperability. And we want to help promote awareness. We're going to be at IT Expo next week. Today is February 6th. I should mention this is the first episode. Next week, the VCon Foundation will be at IT Expo with a bunch of other folks, including Thomas and myself, who will be speaking and talking the VCon and Skit and all sorts of other great stuff. And we're having a meeting for those of you in the Miami-Dade area, or I should say the Fort Lauderdale area, if you'd like to join us on Thursday morning, 8 a.m. at Embassy Suites. We're having a meeting for the VCon Foundation, really for the new members. And this is going to be news to Thomas. On March 6th, we're going to have the first ever VCon Foundation meetup in Boston.
Oh, wow.
11 a.m.
That's my hometown.
It's going to be out from 11 to 2. It's going to be an eat and meet. VCon Foundation is hosting a breakfast, we'll call it a lunch, a brunch, like a shout out to Rachel and to the team at really Grandstream. They were very nimble and very agile, and they got us set up at the Lenox Hotel. And
it's a beautiful place.
We're going to be at the Lenox Hotel on March 6th in Boston for the first ever VCon Foundation meetup in Boston. And
okay, all right.
11 a.m.
So I want to go out on a limb here.
Yeah.
And say that I will attend the March 6th conference.
Okay.
You know me and schedules, right? We just don't get along. But I'll also make some scones. If you're going to be there, you'll have some Thomas scones. If you've never had the opportunity to have real traditional blueberry scones from New England, I think this is your opportunity to have some.
The blueberry scones that. Oh my gosh, that's March 6th, and that's moving. I mean, it's I'm really our friends at Grandstream. They've gone all in on the vCon to say, and it's I'm in awe of the energy of the people I've been meeting who are joining us. They get the mission. I was taken back. It was a couple of weeks ago or more, I guess. I was in Delray Beach at Cloud Connections, and on stage next to me was Dag Peak over at Alianza, and he kind of just announced to the world that vCons are basically inside the network fabric that he has, and
it's great.
You know, that's what's good coming out, is that people are taking it for granted, and then you know we had the vCon Foundation meeting, a virtual one at the end of January. And I think the company's called VoxHub. They're in the UK. Did not know Dan was doing vCons, but it's core to what he's doing. It's like they just do it. People are doing vCons. It's amazing.
That's great. That's great. Well, you know, that's all incredible news. And I did hear I did speak to Dag for a moment, and just to have a guy of that level, you know, be so much behind what we're doing was really for me just, again, you know, if there's anything which I think is really neat about the vCon community, is just the niceness and the quality of the people who are like in it. I mean, that list of vCon Foundation companies is a decent list of really, you know, seriously, right? And so yeah, I mean, like it's a network, and I think,
mean, you know, between Crescendo coming in there and Vodacall coming in. Yeah. By the way, Vodacall, I think, is Boston-based, and they came in. I think we'll find some other service providers joining soon. I mean, Alianza, I do appreciate that for the vCon, for Spring 26 vCon in Dallas. Alianza is one of our sponsors, and I imagine soon they may become a member of the vCon Foundation. We will find out.
That'd be great, right? I'll make.
I do have to say,
if they do. By the way, if they do, Jeff, I'll make them scones too.
Thank you. And by the way, I think Andy is going to be mad if I don't shout out Sensei, because I think I stopped the call review. But Sensei is also a member, and I could thank Sensei for the referral for Wojciech. So because they mentioned Sensei on the call a few minutes ago. So the word is getting out there, and it's a global phenomena, and it's just very cool.
Were you there when talking about scones? When Andy was making those margaritas at the vCon show in Hyannis?
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe if I make the scones, if it's a late night thing, we're gonna have to tap Andy to be the Mr. Margarita for the event.
I think that's fine, you know. And I think it was appropriate because we were at Margaritaville, so
it wasn't Margaritaville. It was very, very poetic. Yeah, very.
And the killer, I do believe that once the infrastructure is figured out and people figure out how to spell MCP and figure out how to do all sorts of cool things with the vCons, it's going to be the applications that really drive this home.
Yeah, no, I really believe that too. And you know, what I think about is, if you had a seamless, frictionless way of putting the customer conversation as data for your application, would you not? I mean, it really is so fundamental to what you're trying to do in business, and trying to understand and serve and also protect, obviously, right? It's like, it almost seems like a little bit incompetent not to. And so I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to come up with these amazing applications. I remember being really anxious about there being enough people to write, you know, applications, and whether, you know, how many application vendors would there be. And now, I mean, like there's really great stuff happening every day. Of course, you know, Tresic, am I saying that correctly? They've rebranded and they're doing.
It's not to say, I believe it's Tresic, although there was no pronunciation guide when they came out with a press release announcing the new company.
Well, I say Tresic because if it were like a rap band, it would be Trey Sick.
Okay. Yeah,
right. Which also very cool. You know, Jason, they're a cool bunch, so I think that could have been it. You know, and then of course, you know, Mind Making is really doing some amazing things around human in the loop, and some really interesting, you know, dashboarding applications, which I think is great. And you know, I heard Ken and Jeff have got something going down on Vconify, and that's interesting.
Yeah, by the way, I'm really, I missed the opportunity. I knew something was up because I went to grab the domain vConify because I keep on talking about vConifying things, and the domain was taken, so it was just a matter of time to figure out.
Just a matter of time where it was. We were at dinner last night. The great thing of, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have really good names.
Yes.
Like when I get a name for a product like the Conserver or the Coachinator, so I was like, we're thinking about good vCon names, and you know what? The domain names are running out.
Yes, they are. Actually, the prices are going up, so something is happening, and I am. I'm later today, by the way, in vCons. It's not officially part of the podcast, but I am with Shai Berger, who has announced he's coming as CMO of Config.ai.
Oh my God, what a get! What a get! Yeah, what a get! I'm so proud of RJ and that team.
That team's great. Yes, they're growing.
They're great.
That AI stuff happen with vCons, like, wow.
Oh man. Yeah, so when RJ and I are old friends because we're old. And we've been that way a long time.
I mean, you could always be
there. No, I'm proud of my gray hair. So when we were still at Strala before we spun out to vConic, RJ spiked and developed his config service with Stralid, and one of the first choices that we made was that when he would automate the phone call, he would then bring that phone call back to us.
Oh wow!
Right, as a vCon, and it made such a big difference. And because it's so much easier to do, and then just for quite a while, RJ was like part of our team. Like he was in every stand up, and just the chance for my staff to work with a guy like RJ was just, he's a legendary guy. So yeah, just and then for Shai to get there, that's becoming a very, very, very good team. I mean, I'm expect good things from them. It seems like it's all kind of working out, which is really good.
I think we're gonna see great things from them too. And I have to say the Spring vCon conference in Dallas is taking on its own life. I cannot announce on this podcast, but a future one I'll announce another large company that you've heard of that will also be coming and speaking there. And for me, for AI, for this all to take off, I think there are three legs in this new world order, because 30 years ago I was doing the VON conferences, and that was the intersection of internet and communication. And looking at where we're at today, I think we're at the intersection of AI and communication. And one leg to me is HD voice. In 2008 to 2010, myself and Dan Berninger, we went on a worldwide quest to get as many buy-ins as possible from operators to do HD, because until then, in 2008, we were stuck in the 1930 codex. It was crazy. But I still remember I was in 2008, and I got invited or summoned to the offices of Shabtai at Audio Codes, and he kind of let me have it. He said, Jeff, as an American, aren't you embarrassed that right now in Moldova, you can do end-to-end HD voice from a cell phone to a home in your living room, but in America, you don't have that? And I thought about it for a second and said, yeah, I am embarrassed. And so I went on a quest, and I got, AT&T, Verizon, Orange, and a whole bunch of companies over 2.5 years to say yes to HD voice. And when I look at this new industry that's forming around us, it's three things. You need high quality voice if you want to do AI. In fact, the higher quality of the voice, the better the likelihood the AI is working. You need to have memory, which I put the icons right there as your memory, and you need a little trust. You got to do that compliance. You need the ability to consent with withdraw consent, and those three things, memory, trust, and high definition voice, ushers in the era of the vCon, and really a lot of other things.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and by the way, that gets to what I'm actually working on this year really hard, which is around lawful basis, which is the consent attachment for vCons, and that's a big part of what we're doing. And I'm trying to learn to say lawful basis more than consent, because lawful basis, it makes me sound smart, right? I'll do anything that sounds smart. So lawful basis actually is I think is a better way of framing it, because we understand as communications engineers, which is where vCons have actually a wider range in a way. I mean, I know that it's around conversations, but there's lots of conversations in the world. The world runs on conversations. Even bots have conversations with themselves. If you haven't seen Moltbot yet. Oh
yeah, it's a little crazy. Maybe I don't know. Those bots should maybe vCon every conversation, and we can look at millions and billions.
Oh, do I have the funnest application I wrote? I'll tell you at the end of the show. So So because we come out of this, a lot of us come out of that world and not the AI world. We think about consent in terms of like communications consent, like can I call you or can I text you? And that's what we think about consent. But it's actually consent's a larger thing, which is not only consent, but consent for purpose. Like, okay, can I train on your data? Can I use AI against it? And part of the work that we do at the IETF is around learning to put down those vocabularies. And there was just came out from the IEEE, the My Terms specification around exactly what the terms of service are around using your data, right? Which is amazing stuff. But even after all that said, that's only one of 6 different reasons why you could lawfully record a phone call.
Wow.
For instance, you can record a phone call because you are under contract to another company to do it on their behalf. And it's their job to get the consent and their job to make sure that that's the right job. So that mirrors exactly what happens in today's data regulation. So, if you are running a company, you might often have a payroll service. And that payroll service does the payroll for you because it's not part of your business. Yeah, who knows how to do that stuff, right? But there's a very well matured set of laws that identify who has to do what to who. And if I'm the guy who is the employer, I'm called a data controller because I'm the guy who takes care of your data. My employees are my data subject, but the payroll service is the data processor. And that data processor has a lot of really important information about a person, like their name, their social security number, their address, a lot of stuff, right? The way that even works is because the payroll processor, the data processor is under contract to the data controller. And so very often I hear from phone companies, how can I make a smart trunk and record this without consent to do it? And the answer is, well, you don't need consent. The person that you're doing the recording for needs the consent. And so that's one of the 6 lawful bases. And there's other stuff. And all those 6 different reasons why you'd want to record a vCon are captured in the lawful basis attachment. It's currently an extension to the vCon, which is part of the IETF. And for me, this year is a lot to be talking about. Next generation of vCons is now vCons come with consent so that you don't get sued for doing something wrong.
So a comment comes through on LinkedIn from Basil and says, I think we need to be consistent. Is there an expectation of privacy?
It's a great question. Is there an expectation? So vCons are essentially and very essentially what's called in a permissioned system. So by a permissioned system is the reason why you are tailing someone's data is because you have the permission to do so. And the vCons allow you to capture and prove that you did. So I call it a way of letting the good guys do the right thing and to prove they did the right thing. So I think the better question, so the question would be for today's thing is, do you really have permission to do what you're doing? Can you prove it? Did you gain it? Can you audit that? Can one of your customers withdraw that permission? Can one of your customers know what they gave your permission to and decide to take it back? Right? None of those things are available today in systems. The vCon exists in a permissioned system to allow permissions to be given and permissions to be withdrawn. So that's the point. That's actually really the point. And it's a lot of the essential point in the mission why people are really behind vCons is because they're people and they're important and we can't be screwing with their data. vCon allows you to do the right thing and prove it. So that's the point. It's a great question.
So look, this is the inaugural podcast of This Week in vCons. We're starting this. This is February 2026. So this is before the first IETF meeting. I know you're flying to China for it. Do you think 2026 is the year the vCon RFC gets published? What do you think?
Yeah,
what are the odds?
Yeah, no, I think it's really good. So we had an info meeting a week ago, which I missed because again, me and the calendar are not well acquainted. Which I'm really upset about. But we are going through all the little nits, all the really small little things, and all the specs, and a little painful. But we're looking to what we have a good process here at the IETF. The working group, the working group that's publishing the vCon standard is looking to have what's called a working group last call hopefully, after the Shenzhen meeting. And then that means that it would go into the IETF last call to make sure that the IETF in general is okay with what we've done. And that will complete out this year for sure. Yeah, so it's going to be
amazing. And so,
isn't it?
Congratulations. I mean, I'll wait till it actually happens, but still, congratulations. That's awesome.
And to you, and that's the other great thing about the VCon network. It's not me and it's not you. It's really a lot of people. It's a lot of us, and it's always been that way from the very start of when we start to do this stuff. And it's a great community, and it's a really wholehearted community.
If you want to play with vCons, you're invited to join us on March 23rd. We're having a vCon hackathon in Dallas right before the conference kicks off, and Thomas may be in a blur mode because of coming in from Shenzhen, but I promise you, Dan Petrie has said we're going to talk about hopefully
thank God for Dan.
The hackathon, because I think there's going to be a lot of interest in trying to understand what this vCon stuff is all about, and at the same time, let's play.
Well, he sure is the right guy. I mean, I don't say this enough. What a great co-author I had. When Dan and I co-authored the original draft and was adopted by the working group, and it's been split into the core, and Dan's taking care of the core, and I'm taking care of the overview. And what a foundational man for what's happened here at vCons. I think people really should understand a lot of the fundamentals of redaction and data protection and versioning, and a lot of that really hard network stuff came right out of Dan, and we should really be. So if you're going to have Dan, there isn't a more credible guy. But you're right. I'm going in from Shenzhen to Boston back for a day to make sure my wife is still there. And then I'm going to Dallas. And I'm doing the trip, which is the round the world trip. So I take one way around the world to get there and the same way back, right? Just like Superman did in the movie. And I'm going to see if I can't make time go backwards to save Lois Lane.
That would be amazing. I mean, why not? And
or at least to pay my phone bill on time. Either way. But all that said, can I tell you about the hack I prepared just for the hackathon? So one of the things I'm trying to do is get some good data sources for vCon so people can have a fresh set. Right. And what I put together on using Lovable is an application that scans the top 100 podcasts in America and then creates vCons out of them.
Oh, wow.
Tags them, transcribes them, and then puts keywords on them and puts them into an RSS feed.
Wow.
Or it'll post it into your conserver, which manages vCons, or your MCP server, which manages vCons. And you have a fresh source of interesting data. And so that's my contribution into the vCon hackathon, a little early because I will be Superman.
But I'll tell you what, if we set up the parameter, people could access it and they could then play with it and start doing analysis of it.
You know what? If anything for you, dear. I'll put it right up.
And by the way, we're still getting, I think one of our future guests will have to be a regulatory compliance attorney who could probably answer these things, because just know that Thomas and I, we're not attorneys, and we are not, any information we're sharing here is not for regulatory purposes and certainly not for legal. There's no legal advice offered here at all. But he's in New York State using call recordings for years, no expectation of privacy on a call in New York State, but no need to ask to declare in New York. How do you deal with this, especially when California has a different law? And then I'm curious how we navigate these as an issue, because we host these from a location, but the platform of service is, no, this is, I was asking this, by the way. I can
answer that question, though. Well, so actually, I am also not a lawyer. So, by the way, fun joke. What do you call 1,000 lawyers at the bottom of the sea?
Tell me.
A good start. So,
okay.
No, seriously, yeah. So, but how? So we've had many great lawyers who are actually involved, some of the best regulatory lawyers in the country in the vCon community, including my co-author of the Privacy Primer, Diane. Oh yes, she was just wonderful, wonderful co-author. And I want you to think of vCons as being the toolbox for how you would implement privacy and compliance regulations worldwide. Because the fact of the matter is they do change everywhere. And right. they change between geography, they change between use, and there's lawful basis, and there's a lot of stuff there. So think of the vCon as being the toolbox that helps you address that properly. So it's not a global answer, it's a global toolbox to get the answer. And part of that global toolbox is what's called the parties dialogue. It's the parties part of the vCon. Tells you who was there and where they were. So it gives you a civic address or geolocation that allows you to identify that this person was at this place and that person was at that place when the recording was made, and helps you address all of these differences and regulations as they travel across geography, and helps you address the sovereign use case, which is really, really important for AI. So sovereign data is a big thing in AI, and what this allows us to do is know where the data came from geographically, which is kind of neat.
Right. So it sets up the framework for compliance, and it's really up to the nation to follow the rule of law in the land they're in or the land they're operating in. And so that's implementation opportunities. But we provide the hooks to that.
Yeah, we provide the tools, right? Like listen, if they aren't able to have one answer, we'll give you one solution. So there it is. You just take our stuff and use it the right way. It'll work great.
Well, Thomas, I thank you for joining me as my partner on This Week in vCons. I think this is an amazing kickoff. And if you're listening to this broadcast and you would like to become a future guest on the show, don't be shy. Thomas or myself, and we're listening. In future episodes, we'll be talking about why vCons, the advent of the vCon, will be bigger than the spreadsheet, because it's the applications that we create.
Do we have? Jeff, this is you know what I can't think of a more favorite duet partner, man. Thanks for doing this with me. I can't wait for the next one. It's really
thank you. Well, stay tuned for future episodes. We'll be here right now we're broadcasting live on YouTube and LinkedIn, and look forward to our next show. Maybe it's next week. We'll find out. But we'll certainly will be This Week in vCons. Thanks, guys.
You and me in calendars. Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas.
See you.